All right. How you been, man?
Been busy, man. Been busy. Had a great time at
All right.
the Skyball. Fantastic foundation, Air Power Foundation. Raised a good amount of money at silent auction. Got to hang out with some really good-hearted, kind, cool people. How you been?
All right. Excellent. Good. Um, got some things happening. Got the all right. So, oh my gosh. Um, this okay, so we have to it's really interesting because there's like with NBA and NFL and Major League Baseball, they have their seasons, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, there's no boxing season. Okay,
It's hard enough
except
to put together solid
that
fights all the time.
right, except that they need viewership to create the revenue to pay these fighters.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And if they don't have the viewership because they're watching football, basketball, or baseball, right? They're
Right.
they're not making enough money to pay these fighters. Okay.
So, okay.
So yeah, Fundora supposedly hurt his hand. Okay. But now you got so now the fight they're going to be the undercard for Manny Pacquiao versus Rolly Romero. Oh, but the WBA doesn't want Pacquiao fighting or Romero fighting Pacquiao. They want him to fight this other guy out of Uzbekistan, which nobody's ever heard of, and he ain't going to bring a draw with him. And now that's gonna hurt the pockets of Romero and Floyd Mayweather Jr., who has Romero under contract.
Do you think that was a strategic move by the invisible and somewhat visible takeover of boxing that could potentially be happening right now?
Well, this guy that's in line with the WBA to fight Romero was in line to fight the guy that had the title before Romero got placed as the champion. Okay. And that guy moved
Right.
up,
Right.
right? I mean, he's due. Well, they're saying he's due. He's got like 17 fights, 17 wins, and
Okay.
he was like a bronze medalist in the Olympics or something. And but
Right.
when you look at Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns when they fought each other for a title, they all had like 20 plus. So I mean, that's semantics, right? Semantics.
What
About
was that?
that 20 fights, 20 successful boxing campaigns should put you in line to fight for a title. Okay. But then you
Yeah.
got
What's
guys.
the average lifespan for a title fighter? Like what's some of the greats? What you get to that position? What's your average or the boxing average lifespan to stay at the top of the mountain? Fight wise, is it 5 fights, 10 fights, 20
Like
fights?
fights, right? It all depends. It all depends. Like Duran had close to 100.
Damn,
Yeah, I mean Duran fought into his 40s. I think Duran had his last fight was like 47.
that's pretty impressive right there.
And George Foreman was like 44 when he won a title. When he
We
won
used to
his
have tough
second
old
title.
timers. Now
Boxing is not a longevity sport.
no,
it's
no,
it's
definitely.
it's not. Um, I mean, you can only take so much. I mean, you look at this fight, this last fight with uh oh heck, Curtis Parker and Wardley. You
Uh,
know, I mean, that was a very controversial stoppage. If I don't know if you saw the fight or not,
no, I didn't
but
catch that fight.
the Parker was winning, was ahead on the judges' scorecards, and the 11th round, Wardley poured it on, but he wasn't really hurting Parker,
Right.
and but the referee jumped in and stopped the fight. Now there's a new champion. Now everybody, um, Usyk, um, uh, Utama, right? They're
Right.
all looking at making bank. I mean, that guy's in a sweet spot to make a lot of money. Again, he was a British fighter, had a British referee. Not saying there was any bias, just do
No,
the
not at
math.
all. Yeah. 1 + 1 = 3.
You know, and so, and like Pacquiao right now is trying to get the IBA reestablished. The IBA, the International Boxing Association, which used to be the sanctioning body
Right.
for amateur and professional boxing. All right, but the Olympic Committee
Right.
ousted them from the
They
Olympics
disbanded that, right? Right.
because they were not saying they were corrupt, but they didn't like the way they did business. That's what you read when you search it out. That's what you get. Their business practices weren't professional. I mean, that's what they're saying. Okay,
Were
and
they not professional because they were illegal, or were they not professional because they weren't controlled or centralized like normal business practices? Because there's many ways to do business that are completely legal, but don't fit a corporate structure or a hierarchical structure. So
well, what it was is they weren't under the control of the U.S. Olympic Committee.
uh, that's the recurring theme we have in this sport right now. Um,
Got the
I
control
think,
right.
yep, yep. Say it's. Uh, I think that. I think that
There
this
was
fan
something.
based outcome.
There was magic happening when you had Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy
Hmm.
Hearns, Roberta Duran, and Marvin Hagler, and even Alfredo Benitez all in the picture. And everything was,
Right.
we still had to work around the different sanctioning bodies. You know, Duran had a title, and or not Duran, it was Cuevas had a title, Tommy Hearns had a title, Sugar Ray Leonard had a title, right? And they all had in the same weight division, right? And
Right.
it was who did Roy beat for the welterweight title? Um, I forget
What?
who he beat,
The
but
welterweight
the
title.
who did he?
I forget.
It was oh yeah, it was Rafael Benitez. He had the welterweight title. So Duran had to beat, or Ray
Benitez.
Leonard had to
Okay.
beat Benitez, and that was a legitimate uh fight. I mean, Ray
Right.
Leonard earned that belt by beating Benitez. Benitez was no joke. Okay. And
Right.
then uh Benitez beat oh god, he was one of my favorites. Um Carlos Palomino.
He did beat
To
Palomino, didn't he?
So he beat Palomino, then so that was a legitimate title that Sugar Ray Leonard won, right? And
Right.
that was
Right.
and then the WBA was Pepino Cuevas, and Tommy Hearn aced him, and so then Hearns and Leonard fought to unify those two belts. There wasn't
Right.
the IBF back then. There wasn't the WBO back then. Okay. And so that's when that happened, right? And so,
Right.
it was all, and it's always been a problem because there's like right now Utama, right? This Moses Itama, whatever, right? He's the
Yeah.
British guy. He's like everybody's relating him, young guy, like less than 20, 22 years old, and just
Right. Right.
smoking, right? Just knocking him out, right? And he's wanting to get the shot at Usyk, right? Win or lose, they're both going to
Yeah.
make stupid, right? And
Stupid money.
but um the sanctioning bodies want him to fight, you know, wanted him to fight the winner of Parker and Wardley. Well, Wardley won.
Right.
Right now,
Yeah.
Usyk wants to fight Wardley. He's they're not making quick moves to sign that fight anytime soon. And now you got
No, they're
Moses
not.
Itama. It's like, hey, I'm your Huckleberry, right? I'll take that, right? And
Yeah.
he's really heavy. I mean, he should have been the one fighting Curtis Parker. That would have been, but see, Curtis Parker didn't prepare. Curtis Parker came in 20 pounds heavier than Wardley and highest in the most he's
Yeah.
in any fight ever. He wasn't in shape for that fight, but he didn't fight like he was not in shape. Okay. He fought like he didn't have a strategy. And that happens a lot. Who are
Right.
we talking about? We were talking about the
What?
somebody else. Oh, Canelo. Canelo didn't have a strategy
Yeah.
fighting.
Canelo did the same thing.
Right. They
Did
didn't
the
have
same
they
thing.
weren't prepared for the fight, right? It's and coming from our backgrounds, right? Like in the
Right.
military, what happens in the military is in training, you prepare like stupid prepare, right?
Yeah.
And
Just
and
over and over and over and over and over.
but when it's the real deal, you better hope you prepared enough in your previous experience in training,
Yeah.
but
To go to default when it's time and you need it.
right. Because they throw you in there when it's for real bullets, a lot of times they ain't a plan. Or the plan gets
Yep.
changed the last minute. It does. Our plan got changed at the last minute.
All the time. All the
Yeah,
time.
right. It's like, and so you have to
Oh,
be
we just
trained.
got this in, but we gotta okay. What's you know how you do rolling point in the clearing ops? You do the rolling ops in the clearing point.
Right.
Uh,
So you got to kind of be that way, and in the game of boxing, uh, there's experience after experience or situation after situations where somebody fell out, couldn't fight, and they got a
yep.
replacement, and that guy was ready.
That happens a lot in the UFC too. And those guys aren't gonna miss that opportunity because that's like, oh my God, they opened a door for me. I gotta get through, I gotta get through now. You know.
Yeah,
And those can
I'm a
be
big
exciting
Detroit
fights a
Lions
lot of
fan.
times, for sure.
I'm a big Detroit Lions fan, right? And their
Right.
secondary's been decimated. And the guys that came up, like this last game they had, everybody's like, oh man, their secondary is decimated. Those guys stepped up. They saw their opportunity and they performed, right? It's the same thing in boxing all the time.
Right.
So if you're
Yep, absolutely.
there may be a time where
Speak- Speaking
nobody's
of
looking.
stepping up, right?
Go on.
Speaking of us stepping up with the boxing too, you notice here's the magi trick that Dana White and those guys are doing to get their claws in the boxing on the Gervonta Tank Davis Paul versus Gervonta fight. They're starting to slip in their UFC boxers or MMA fighters to do boxing with active boxers right now. You got Anderson Silva. He's going to return to box Chris Weidman as an undercard on that fight. What do you think about that? Tactically, is that a good strategy to get control of boxing with the shake? And secondly, what do you think about it, like, overall? Is that gonna hurt or help?
Well, okay. There it's
He said, "Let me put on my kid gloves."
well, it's like fighting's fighting. There's
Yeah.
certain principles that apply no matter what. But if you don't have those narrow pathways established and over a long period of time, you're never
Mhm.
going to be effective. It's like guys that have been like Roy Jones Jr. had his first fight when he was 8 years old.
Right.
Okay. Floyd Mayweather Jr. grew up. His daddy was a world champion, right? And I mean, Floyd been fighting his whole, since he was when Floyd was walking, he was throwing hands. Okay. There's a
Right.
huge difference. I had my first fight when I was 17.
But
And so
okay.
me coming into the gym with Roy Jones Jr., who had his first fight when he was 8. All right. That was a huge distinction. It took me a long time. Well, it felt forever. It was probably a year before I was at that point where my hands knew enough to be able to keep up with Roy. Okay.
Right.
You
I
know,
got you.
his hands were trained already,
Let's
right?
see.
Okay. Now
Do what?
I was older. I started hitting a speed bag when I was 7 years old. So I had that the speed coming in because I'd conditioned that from the time I was, 7 years old, hitting a speed bag. Okay. But most people aren't that way. Most people coming into a sport, you know, after they graduated high school or, you know, why they're a teenager, you're not gonna
Yeah.
be as polished. You're
You're
not
gonna-
gonna be
yeah, I know.
as somebody who's been doing it. Like Roy Jones Jr. learned how to do what he knew how to do before he was old enough to know how he did it. It's hard for Roy to teach what he did to anybody else because he learned it before he knew how he learned it.
No,
Is
I
that
get
making
that.
sense?
I'm just curious what. Absolutely, absolutely. It's the same thing, training principle. We all have different situations growing up in that childhood. Like, I was talking about, though, with these UFC fighters crossing over with, like this Anderson Silva versus the Chris Weidman. Like, do you think that's part of the strategy they're going to use so that they can get that control of boxing as
Well,
well, so they can have the
well,
unified boxing organization?
what are they trying to do? They're trying to attract the audience, whether they were people following Anderson Silva when he was in MMA and bringing him
His last fight
in,
was
bringing them,
2024, actually.
yeah, bringing him in to fight, an up and coming boxer who's trying to attract that audience. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're trying to, I don't want to say hijack. They're trying to transition an audience
Mhm.
from one guy who's got the following to another guy, the new moneymaker, and give
Yep.
him a following. See, that's the whole problem. Okay. And it was boxing did it to itself back when the they quit fighting on network television. All right.
Right. They
And
put
so only
themselves in that box.
people that could afford cable and watch ESPN or pay-per-view in with HBO and Showtime, they were the only ones seeing the fighters, the top fighters, right? It wasn't like back in the day, back when they had the Four Kings, where they were on
Right.
network television. Everybody knew who Tommy Hearns was. Everybody knew who Sugar Ray Leonard was. Everybody knew who Roberta Duran and Marvin Hagler was. So they had, they were getting exposure. okay, so I'm talking to a promoter. Um, I'm talking to a
Uh-huh.
promoter yesterday. All right. And, I'm trying to say, hey, you guys have production? You guys have, you have distribution, right? Oh, no. Well, they're doing their next fight. They're streaming live on Facebook Live. That's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a totally
Uh-huh.
uh a disservice to their fighters. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think
Are they
it's a
doing it from a monetized
disservice,
account?
and I don't I we didn't get into the weeds that far, but I doubt it. I doubt it, right?
I mean,
And
if it's from a monetized account, then you can do it, in a way that everybody benefits. But if it's just on the raw page, that's definitely more of a disservice. And why Facebook? Why isn't TikTok? Is it going on all the platforms at one time? Is it going on just one platform? Like,
well, that was surprising me that they said that they were going to be, but if you got, I mean, like I said, I wish I would have got this kid's name.
uh,
And I saw him fighting on one of the Red All cards, and he was half black, half Asian, and the kid was like out of the Matrix. He was his technique was like superior to anybody I'd ever seen before. He would have given Roy
right.
Jones Jr. a fit coming out of the Olympics because he was so sharp with his technique, bringing his hands right back, catching them counter punches. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I remember when Roy went to that level, right? My left hook to the body was my you know my payday
Your
punch, right?
savior? Yeah.
And I'm like, me and Roy had been around each other for like 4 years, and we're messing around. And I'm like, I went to go get that, dig that body shot in. Oh, and I hit his elbow. I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
he 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 stopped my punch, right? Well, that never
Yep.
would happen. That never happened before, right? I always get it in there, you know. And I had a way of working somebody, right, to open up the solar plexus or the short rib, right outside the elbow, right. And
Yeah.
when you get against somebody, I remember Sean Fletcher. I used to crush Sean Fletcher. I'd hit him so hard he squeaked like a dog, right. And I went on a deployment. So 6 months later, I'm coming back, and now it's like sparring somebody totally different. And he was thumping me with overhand rights, and it was frustrating, and getting
Right.
inside my right. And finally, I'm like, finally I threw that chuck hook like right there. I didn't throw it out here like a normal chuck hook. I threw it like really in tight, and I caught him right on the button, and it did the job, right. Set him down, the but it was, I had to really work it. I had to really adjust, and most of the time you can't when you've got um when you've got your adrenaline's kicking. It causes a delay in your thinking process, so you have to react instead
Yeah.
of thinking, because you don't have time to, because your thinking is too slow. And so through
That's where the
repetition,
training comes in. Yep.
right, you set up those neural pathways. And when somebody doesn't, like Canelo didn't against Crawford, and um, Parker did against Wardley, they didn't do against Wardley, right? Guess what? You lose. You lose the
Right.
fights, right? And if you're not prepared, you know, Pacquiao.
You think Virgil Ortiz is prepared for Eric Lubin? Or Eric Lubin?
Oh, well, I would assume he is. Ortiz is hungry. Ortiz is
Right.
is one, he's making a name for himself. I know who you're talking about when you talk about him, so that says something, right? And
Yeah, that's
he's got
true.
a
They're
reputation
going
of
at the
being
what? The
being a tough
154.
fighter.
Let's see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's always a good weight, junior middleweight. That's always a lot of talent always in that weight class, those weight classes. You know, and it's
Yeah, there
so
is. This
here's
is
the
one,
thing.
and the winner of this one gets that VIP lane to WBC crown.
So
He's
here's the
not really
thing,
getting that, but that'll start up another Fedora conversation.
right? I mean, it was 20 years ago when the internet first came out, right? And
Right.
well, it was before the internet. Okay. But there was 57 channels on cable TV, nothing on. Remember that? 57 channels ain't got nothing on, right? And Roy Jones Sr. had a little meeting with everybody in the gym,
Man,
said,
I didn't even have a TV
this
when
is
I was a
when
kid, so
boxing's gonna have a home, okay? Because there's gonna be such a need for content that that boxers are getting, and it just has taken a long time. In fact, it actually got to a choke point. When Canelo signed with DAZN, it like right away HBO and Showtime, and then not too long after that ESPN. They don't do boxing anymore. They don't,
right.
because it wasn't worth it for them. It wasn't cost effective enough, or it didn't produce enough revenue for them
Revenue.
pay out those big purses. Okay. And that's for Dana White. Dana White would rail about boxing for the longest time because what he wanted to do was do a tournament just like he did with MMA.
Right, right. Just for the Ultimate Fighter, turn it into a show.
Right, right. And you couldn't get the top boxers into a tournament like that because they wanted too much money. It was too expensive to
Well,
get.
it is what it is.
Right, right. Now, he did what he did. I mean, they took a loss with Canelo versus Crawford. The fighters didn't take a loss. The promoter took a loss, but the promoter had deep enough
No.
pocket. 10 million is nothing for that guy, right? Right. But he's wanting
Right.
uh everybody wants that money, right? But you got to have the draw. So you got the boxing has to go back to the beginning when everybody could see the fights. And you got to quit that. There's a lot of promoters out there. There's always there. I get calls all the time. People they want to fight the Mexican boxers, right? Because they're pulling guys right off the street in Mexico. $400 for a 4 round fight is more than most of those guys will make in a year, right?
Right.
They're so they'll get beat up for $400, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And, and so these promoters are just padding the record of their future money makers, so they can get 20-0, so they can get ranked and they can get a title shot where they can make the real money. I mean, most managers and promoters lose money when they put on the shows, or they lose money with their fighters up until the fighter
Yeah,
gets
but
to
you
the.
know what? They're doing it for a reason. So, that money, I'm sure that at some point it's like you expect to lose that much money, but are you really losing it? Because what are you gaining in other places? Not all currency is green. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Oh,
is it losing money? Yeah, it could be losing money, but is it just an alternative way of paying for a different type of currency? Because it seems that's the trend. Everybody's got this hand to rub, that hand to rub, their shoulder pat, that elbow to pat, and you know, pulling strings,
Well, when you,
like we
okay, so
talked
I
about.
see,
So,
Bobby, I knew Bobby DeFelipe really well. Bobby DeFelipe used to manage James the Heat Kitchens. Okay.
uh-huh.
You heard that name before, right?
Yes.
Okay. His father used to manage Kenny Norton. Okay. And there's a lot of managers.
Okay.
Shelly Finkel's one of them. Shelly Finkel at one time managed Mike Tyson, Fernando Vargas, and the Klitschko brothers, and Manny Pacquiao. He made more money
Right.
as a manager than most promoters do. Okay. And there's a lot of managers, powerful managers like that, that they'll lease a promoter's license and they'll do all the work and run the show, but they're the manager. But the
Right. I got you.
technically the fight's under a promoter's license, right? But they're doing it just to get their fighters, get their records up, get so they can earn a title shot, because that's when they make their money. Okay. Now there's um I see a change happening. Okay.
Right.
Where and it's what we're doing. Okay. We actually have the resources. I can work with a promoter and get them a venue and um distribute, production and distribution. Okay. And we have a financing lined up where you know, it's all got to be paid back, but it's the amount up front is way less than the normal way of doing things. Okay.
Right.
And they can get the exposure, and they can get and that's the whole thing in boxing, is getting that exposure. That's why they all want to go to the Olympics, right? Because you are
'Cause
automatic.
yeah, you get international exposure.
Right. Even if you didn't win a gold medal. Remember Danny Carbajal?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he was fighting he was the first one out of the 88 Olympics to get a title. He won a bronze medal. Same thing with, Todd Foster and and uh oh heck. Doggone, I fought him. I had like 6 fights and he had 400. Daggone it.
Did that work out for you?
Doggone it. Well, he his when no, what was his name? But they made
sure.
ESPN. He was he was in the Olympics.
Well,
He got knocked
he must have got
out
you good if you can't remember.
first fight in the Olympics. But he had like I had 6 fights and he had 400 when we fought. Kelsey Foster, they were in it. Neither one of them won a title.
Well, won't understand that.
Vince or Todd Foster beat Vince Phillips in the Olympic trials, and to get to the Olympics, and Vince won the title twice. He knocked out Kasazu and he got a TKO against oh heck, they made a movie about him flipping. He fought uh 3 times against doggone it, an Italian. It was they had 3 wars. Mickey
Marcini?
Ward. So yeah, Vince TKO'd Mickey Ward on a cut. They were
Okay.
slamming each other. That was a wild up. These guys, all these, they made ESPN boxing, right?
Right.
And coming up. And
what do we got coming up this week? Who we got coming up this week? We got Anything
Well,
good?
this week coming up is not going to be. Um, there's not any like if I told you some names, you wouldn't even recognize who they are, right? But you got some fights
Okay.
down the line that are coming up. You
Yeah, we
got
got the
this
November
uh
8th at Fort Worth.
today they
You
just
got
put out
November
that
14th.
Utama is going to be it looks like they're trying to make this fight with Utama and Wardley or Itama
Yeah.
and Wardley. Moses Itama.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that guy Wardley and is he could fight anybody and make a ton of money right now, right? But it's because all the names are coming after him. Everybody wants to fight this guy, the guy that just beat Curtis Parker.
Right.
He could fight Usyk or Itama or I mean, there's everybody coming up wants to fight this guy, and he just like um and Wardley, he comes to fight. He puts out, and that's what got him his win. Other than his countryman being the referee, he was putting it to
Right.
he was making Curtis Parker fight. Okay, which you got to give him. You got to give him his props for that, right? Because not everybody does. Not
Yeah.
everybody comes to fight. Okay, you'd think they would. You'd think, but there's something like Canelo didn't come to fight
No, he
against
didn't.
uh, Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford came to fight,
Yep.
right? And the trick is you got to be ready. You got to be set to fight when you're in the ring, but you got to be ready. That opportunity might come up. I mean, I'm surprised that they put off the Fundora um um oh heck Fundora and what's his
Thurman,
name?
the Fedora Thurman fight.
Yeah, yeah. The Thurman fight, because usually, but Fundora was the champ, right?
Right.
If it would have been the other way around, if Keith Thurman would have got hurt, they'd have put somebody else in there to fight
Right.
Fundora. Isn't that weird how that works? They would have had listen, you could get called up anytime. Remember what was his name? Manuel Augustus.
I just gotta warn you, I'm fighting traffic and stuff, so I might lose you in signal piece. I'm not really sure, but I just
okay,
wanted to
well,
make sure you knew that before, because
but like
huh?
the toughest fight that Floyd Mayweather ever had was against Emmanuel Augustus. They called him the drunken master, right? And he lost
Yeah.
at least as many fights as he won, right? But it was because he went everywhere to fight everybody. He lost all these hometown decisions and everything. But he had some skill, and he gave Floyd Mayweather everything he could handle, right? So you may have a losing record, man, and you may get called up to fight the champion or former champion, Jojo
Right.
Diaz. That boy will fight. He lost a very controversial decision against God dang, what's his name? He's from here in Houston. Used to be world champion, right? And trying to get back into it. And then he fought
Right.
Jojo Diaz. Jojo had lost his last 3 fights, and Jojo put it on him, right? And it was a very controversial loss. I thought Jojo won that fight, right? He put what is his name? Regis Progress, and he put him on Queer Street. He rocked him hard and came after him. So in boxing, there's you never know. You might get a chance, somebody who's like, just a filler. You might get a shot at somebody who's trying to pad their fighter's record, and because you may have had some losses, but you know, that night you might step it up and they may let their guard down and you, next thing you know, you're a contender, right? That's what could happen in boxing.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, next week we're gonna have some things to talk about with the fights coming up. And so, you know, we'll see. I mean, right now there's just some things going on because of they gotta get the audience, and if it's competing with professional football, they're not going to have it. So that they're putting these fights off down the road till January, the big fights. So beginning of next year, all right,
Okay.
at the end of football season, you're going to see a lot. You're going to see some big fights the beginning of 2026. Okay, and time flies, man. It's coming quicker than we thought.
Right.
All right. Well, listen.
Yes, it is.
It's a I'm you know, really thankful for DNA Studios for letting me use their facility. And I appreciate you coming on. Oh yeah. Gotta get if I can get 50 subscribers on World Trident Boxing at Gmail YouTube, we can start streaming live on that channel.
Okay.
Right, I can invite you on as a guest, and we can do it directly live on YouTube. So I need more subscribers on World Trident Boxing
Righty.
Association at Gmail YouTube.
Awesome.
So I'll put
Then
that.
we'll
I'll put
pass
that
that
in there
word.
when I'll send you the
When we
recording.
get,
Do
when
your
we get
magic,
50
and then
subscribers,
post
check it
on
out. When we get
on
50
YouTube,
subscribers,
I'll put
right?
that channel up there.
When you get 50 subscribers to the World Trident Boxing YouTube channel,
All right,
I have
sounds like
I have a
you're
gold
getting
foil Joe Lewis stamp, and we'll
right. We
pick
can
a
do it
winner
live
out of
from
those
YouTube.
50 subscribers. Those first 50 subscribers, we'll pick a winner to give that collective gold
We can
stamp.
broadcast live through YouTube.
Okay.
And you're breaking up, so let me let you go, and I'll send you the recording for editing right away.
All right.